Right now, inside your body, there is DNA from a species that has no name. Not Neanderthals. Not any human ancestor we've officially discovered. Something else. Something that lived alongside our ancestors, bred with them, and then vanished so completely that we have never found a single fossil. Not one bone. Not one tooth. We only know they existed because they left something behind inside us. And when scientists found it, they didn't know what to call it. So they called it a ghost species. And it gets stranger from here. To understand this, you need to know something about how ancient humans actually lived. For a long time, scientists assumed early humans were one clean story. Homo sapiens evolved in Africa, spread across the world, and replaced everything else. Simple, neat, textbook. But there was a problem. The world our ancestors walked into wasn't empty. It was crowded. There were Neanderthals in Europe, Denisovans in Asia, and according to the DNA, at least one or two other groups we have never physically identified. These weren't separate species living far away from each other. They were neighbors. They competed for food. They traded. They fought. And apparently, they did a lot more than that. Because the evidence is very clear. They were mixing. Regularly. Across tens of thousands of years. And that's where things get strange. In 2010, scientists finished mapping the Neanderthal genome. And when they compared it to modern human DNA, they found something that rewrote every textbook on the planet. Modern humans outside of Africa carry between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA. Every European, every Asian, every person whose ancestors left Africa at some point in the last 100,000 years. That DNA didn't get there by accident. It got there because at some point, our ancestors and Neanderthals had children together. Actual children who survived, who grew up, who had more children, and passed that genetic material all the way down to you.
The answer seemed obvious. Okay, so we mixed with Neanderthals. Interesting, but fine. It wasn't fine, because then scientists looked at people from certain Pacific islands, populations in Papua New Guinea, Aboriginal Australians, and found something extra, a completely different set of ancient DNA. Not Neanderthal, something else entirely. They traced it to the Denisovans, a species we only discovered in 2010 from a single finger bone found in a cave in Siberia. One finger bone. That's all we had. And yet the DNA of that one tiny bone matched a significant chunk of DNA found in modern populations across Asia and the Pacific. Some people today carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA. 6% of their genome comes from a species we identified from one finger. But this created a new mystery. When scientists added up all the ancient DNA in modern humans, the numbers didn't quite work out. There was extra, unexplained segments that didn't match Neanderthals, didn't match Denisovans, didn't match any known ancient human species. So either the data was wrong, or there was someone else out there. They went back and looked deeper, and what they found was that some African populations carry traces of DNA from a completely unknown archaic human. A group that split from the main human family tree somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million years ago. Before Neanderthals, before Denisovans, something older, and we have zero fossils from them, zero tools, zero evidence they ever existed except for the fragments they left behind inside living people. Scientists called them a ghost lineage, a species known only from the shadow it left in our genes. Think about what that means. These were real beings. They walked, they thought, they lived for hundreds of thousands of years. They were intelligent enough to survive on this planet for longer than modern humans have even existed, and they left absolutely nothing behind except a few percent of DNA, quietly living inside some people in West Africa today. We don't know what they looked like. We don't know what they ate. We don't know if they spoke. We don't know what happened to them. They're just gone, and the only proof they ever existed is you. Here's what makes this genuinely unsettling. We think of human history as something we mostly understand. We have the fossils, the tools, the cave paintings. We've pieced it together. But the DNA is telling us a different story. It's telling us that our ancestors were moving through a world full of other intelligent beings. Beings that were different enough to be called separate species, but similar enough to have children with. And most of those beings left nothing behind. No graves, no art, no bones. Just a few quiet percentage points of genetic code in people alive right now. There could be species out there, beings that lived for hundreds of thousands of years, that we will never discover. Not because the evidence rotted away, but because we're literally carrying them inside us and just now learning how to read it. The real story of where humans came from is not a straight line. It's not one people, one origin, one clean journey across the planet. It's messier than that. It's stranger than that. It's a story where the boundaries between species were never as clear as we thought, where the definition of human was always being blurred at the edges by people falling in love or fighting or just surviving together in the same valley for long enough. And somewhere in that mess, you were made.